This is a 1 pound block of cacao from the chocolate Shaman, Keith in Guatemala. They come compressed very tightly and sealed in a plastic bag. I just cut this part of the bag open, and I'm going to unwrap it and show you how I chop it up. I actually don't know much about what happens to get it in this state. I know cacao plants are involved. So we have this brick here, shiny, very dense, but it's really made up of a granulated substance. And I just kind of go at it with a knife. It's very hard, so I take small bites, and you'll see it comes apart in. It's sort of like cutting up a piece of baking chocolate. It's kind of like chocolate sand. Of course, this is not chocolate. There's nothing sweet about this. It's super bitter. And it seems to work best to use a serrated knife to kind of grip this hard, shiny thing. You can also, I guess, saw at it a little bit, but that just makes more sawdust, or cocoa dust, I guess, in this case. But what I want to do is get it into pretty small pieces that'll dissolve in hot water. They don't dissolve, I shouldn't say that. The cocoa butter will melt in hot water. The solids do not dissolve. They go into suspension. But smaller is better, because the larger ones take longer to melt. So let's break this down. Another reason you want to cut this and break it down is so that it's easy to weigh, because you have to weigh the cacao to get a uniform serving of the cacao drink, or chocolate tea as my wife likes to call it. So we just kind of keep going at it, sawing. Okay, now it's all fairly uniform. You see we have some pieces quite a bit larger than others, but they will melt, especially with the blender that I use. I use a stick blender, as you'll see. And just as long as they're small enough to get heated up by the water pretty quickly, it makes everything go more smoothly. So that's a pound block of the chocolate Shaman's cacao, all chopped up and ready to make into chocolate tea. Just like that. Perfect. And then you end up with a big bag of 16 ounces of ready-to-go cacao. That's it. On to the next stage. Okay, the next step is to weigh out the cacao. I usually make 2 servings at once, one for myself and my wife, and about ½ an ounce of cacao is about the right amount for a serving. Turn the light on here so you can see. This is pretty straightforward. I'm going to measure it into a measuring cup here that's bigger than I need. We'll zero it out, get down to 0, and we're looking for 1 ounce. So got it at 0, and we'll just drop them in until I get up to 1 ounce, 1/4 ounce, 3/8. This isn't super exacting. If we go over a little bit, that's all right. 5/8, 3/4, 7/8. Right at 1 ounce. Alright, so here we have the cacao, 1 ounce that we measured earlier, in a, this is about a 3 or 4 cup measuring cup. And to this I'm going to add, before we get started, I'm going to add some cayenne, because this is really good with chocolate. I don't put it directly in because I don't want it to be too much, but about a pinch for the 2 of us, for 2 servings. And I got the word from a friend that when she was growing up in Colombia, she had it every morning with cinnamon, so I'm adding some cinnamon for the first time. Add some of that. And you know, it's hard to overdo cinnamon, so we'll put quite a bit in there. And it needs some sweet, so I use, for 2 servings, I use 3 packets of sucralose, Splenda, in this case. Put these in. Now we're ready for the water, which is ready on the stove. And about 7 ounces per person. There's 2 here, so I'm going to bring the water up to 14 ounces in the cup. Right about there. So I give it a little while for the cacao to absorb the heat of the water, melt as much of the butter as it's going to, so it offers very little resistance to the stick blender. And I use a rival stick blender for this. Hold on to this and see if we can do this without splattering. Here we go. Usually go right to the bottom and I pulse it low speed just to see how it's going to do. I think we're going to start adding some nut milk to make it a little richer too, because it is rather thin. And that's about all I'm going to do, because it's going to start spraying out. That's done. That's it. And then we just pour it into mugs and sip it and enjoy. Hope you do too. Thanks.